Ladies and metalfish, this is your handsome and hard-boiled duelist, Daddy Janjo here. So, the month of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX kicks off with a more intrinsic look at the GX era of Yu-Gi-Oh! The second era of Yu-Gi-Oh! Was between mid-2005 through mid-2008. The Duel Monsters era ended on a good note with formats that included a ban list to get rid of any cards harmful to the metagame. But let's not kid ourselves here. DM era did have some toxic environments that deterred players, whether it was Yatagarasu locking players out of the draw phase or Chaos Emperor Dragon ending games on the word go. GX didn't have anything too terrible for too long aside from one format that did get an emergency fix, so why does no one play GX formats on the same level as other eras of the game? Let's miracle dig a bit deeper. First off, we have to look at the anime. Yu-Gi-Oh's nostalgia factor is a strong reason for many to stick to the original series. Hell, my channel mainly focuses on that premiere period, but GX was a whole new world, a sort of reset for the game. Having a more light-hearted, comedy-driven series about a silly-sounding duel school compared to Takahashi's original work with more spooky aesthetic and Egyptian lore was stark to say the least. At best, it was Barbie's Metalocalypse, and at worst, it was Weenie Hut Jr. Perhaps people just outgrew Yu-Gi-Oh! By this point. Keep in mind that 2004 Chaos format made a lot of duelists leave the game since that power imbalance was too much to handle. I don't blame them. Why play a game that was defined by the price tag? A format that is nothing but power cards and could end games either by complete blowout or an infinite loop doesn't sound very fun, and clearly many thought so. This is why a ban list was implemented in the first place. It would be about a year before duels came back into the game to what fans refer to as GOAT format. The ban list and card pool of the summer of 2005 was crafted to the point where duelists would get to play the game again sans chaos. However, duelists still needed a reason to stay past that. Technically speaking, Go format was the first GX format, considering the card pool included the first GX core set, The Lost Millennium. Although people still consider it the end of DM era for two reasons. One being the list used for the format was the April 2005 list, whereas TLM in North America was released on June 1st, so the inclusion of GX was more of an after effect of the format's cutoff point for historic play. The second reason being TLM didn't have too big a presence on the metagame. Sure, you had playable cards, Brain Control, Death Wombat, Mega Rock Dragon, etc. But a majority of the 60 card set just didn't cause any waves in the community. Only including 6 elemental heroes didn't help give off that GX vibe either. Honestly, that was an ongoing issue with GX sets in general. Daddy Janjo about to break some hearts, but it's true. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX had only, I would argue, 2 fully fledged impact sets, and that were the final 2 sets of that era, Phantom Darkness and Light of Destruction. Those two, especially in Phantom Darkness's case, completely warped Yu-Gi-Oh! As we knew it, with powerful archetypal forces and graveyard-centric effects coming to the forefront. The game was not the same after Dark Armed Dragon, and not necessarily in a good way. And if you're enjoying this video, go ahead and give it a like, and if you haven't subbed yet, then I feel bad for you. If you want to help this video and channel out further, consider sharing it around or support me via Patreon for as little as $2 a month. Even GX second set, Cybernetic Revolution, wasn't quite as revolutionary as you'd think. Yes, the Cyber Dragon archetype made a big splash with Cyber Dragon and the 2 fusion monsters, I'll give you that. You may have had a few other cards like Dragon's Mirror and Drillroid that weren't bad per se, yet a majority of the set didn't do anything to change the status quo. And you can continue this line of thinking with the rest of the GX sets, from Elemental Energy to Enemy of Justice to Power of the Duelist to Gladiator's Assault. Remember, Gladiator Beasts were not too relevant on arrival. Contact fusions were a nice upgrade to the fusion mechanic, and Glads made great use of it, but you did have to wait until Light of Destruction for Gyzarus before the deck would become top tier. And that takes us to mechanics. Aside from Contact Fusion and Gemini monsters, GX did not introduce anything too noticeable to the game. To be fair, what exactly did you want? The extra deck was still the Fusion deck, and the effort GX did to improve Fusion monsters from what they once were cannot be ignored. However, from an outsider's perspective, given the span of time between meta-defining sets, what did GX offer that DM didn't give us? We got more useless cards in a series about kids going to an island to learn how to play a children's card game. Summer 2005 was fun enough, the golden age of the game for many, but all good things must come to an end, especially if you see that the direction the game is going in is moving lateral at best. You look at the first full year of GX 2006, and you can see the shades of GOAT throughout. Konami was trying to shake off the chaos smell, yet they could only do so much since, like I mentioned, the card pool never undertook a drastic shift. 2007, about a year and a half into the era, was when you could tell there was being a distinct tone change, thanks to cards like Card Trooper, Elemental Hero Stratos, and Destiny Heroes. In addition, thanks to a plethora of banlists up to this point, cards released in 2006 like Demise and Treeborn Frog saw more meta use in conjunction to the power cards of 07 to make a format that truly feels GX. This is why when you do see people play GX formats, it's typically within this year. Trooper format through Perfect Circle format are ultimately what define GX over previous ones or even the few after. While these are fun formats in their own right, the issues I listed still come into play. GX at its best wasn't as nostalgic or as balanced as GOAT. It did include a new, big summoning mechanic like what 5Ds introduced, and less of an increased card pool of usable cards compared to the compiled pool of later eras the game would inherently see. All this is not to say it was a bad time for the game, as I mentioned, there being formats people do enjoy playing. It's just that compared to the before and after, it was simply a consequence of not trying to stir the pot, while at the same time, not keeping said pot hot enough.